Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 483. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, alongside Johnny V.
We were a few seconds early, Terry. That makes up for all the times that we were late. Anytime we've ever been 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes late, we went live about 12 seconds early.
I'm not sure that math checks out, but nonetheless, now that everyone is here, I think we're all good to go. So welcome in, everyone. What is the date? We're looking at December 5th, 2023. Closing in on another year. I know we just went past, a 9-year anniversary of SmashBoxx.
A couple weeks ago. Right? That's right.
Yeah, 9 years, but some wild stuff going on. There's a little bit of headlines here and there. We'll talk about some of those. We'll also largely break down. I want to talk a bit about my incredible experience. I had a great time at the 12th annual Chain Hawk Open presented by Dynamic Discs. It was down there in Gainesville, Florida, so I'll talk a little bit about that. Full disclosure, I was pretty certain we had Jessica and Double G. Spoilers, they won. Jessica Weiss and Double G all locked in. Double G at some point today updated me and said, I think a cell tower is down and he wasn't getting good internet. So unfortunately, it doesn't sound like we'll have the pair here. However, Statmando had some great stuff out there talking about both when they had last won and how this is the fourth time that Double G has won the event. He defended his title from last year to pick up the win again here this year for the second time in a row. Also, AJ Carey finishes second to him, and and Jessica Weiss picks up her third win at this event, and I believe it's her first victory since sometime last year. So congrats to both of them, and again, we'll break down a little bit more of that. And we saw some college play in the works as that's gearing up, of course, for the 2024 season. But outside of the A tier, I believe I was the only A tier in the country this weekend. Is that what you're seeing on the PDGA, Johnny?
That's exactly what I'm seeing on the PDGA website this morning, or actually it's tonight.
Yeah, this evening.
The 12th annual Chain Hawk Open. I'm always waiting for it to say like presented by something, but this is just literally the 12th annual Chain Hawk Open.
Well, I know it was presented by Dynamic Disc, so
it's just not in the name.
They'll enjoy the full-blown plug. Chris Clark and crew just doing such a phenomenal job at this event. And here's one of the little plugs that I'll give, in the sense that I travel all around the country, and there's always factions and some divisiveness and some division and chaos and mayhem that is going to ensue especially when you're talking about a larger disc golf community. If it's happening in Gainesville, I am blindly unaware of it. I'm sure somebody has maybe a quirk with someone else, or a little irking or something. But if so, it's well hidden. And my whole point, and this is really a compliment, that this Chain Hawk Club is a well-oiled machine, and they have put on a lot of really good shows, including all of the Chain Hawk Opens that I've been to now. This was my fourth one in a row. And it's so refreshing and exciting to see volunteers that have very specific roles and duties, and then you have people taking care of other components of the course. You have these designated people doing these very specific tasks, and from everything that I've seen, it looks like, again, a well-oiled machine. So my hat off to them. And clearly, any big tournament that takes place, you're going to need a lot of cohesion and a lot of great people. That does happen all over the country, don't get me wrong. It's just sometimes you go to a vicinity or an area, and I'll hear about 9 clubs that are all operating within 50 miles of each other, because it just doesn't seem like anyone gets along. So doesn't appear to be the case down there in Gainesville from what I can see. So nice work.
Well, let's rattle off a few of the results for this particular event. Winning this, as we talked about, was Double G, Garrett Girthy, shooting an insane second round of 1091. I believe you had said about a single stroke off of an 1100 rated round, depending on how those rating points go. And then you have, those are some big rating points, actually. A 47 to a 49, 20 Yeah, that's about right. Crazy. Second place, AJ Carey by 10 strokes, 9 of which were in that second round. Third place, Gavin Rathbun tied with Austin Bates and Dustin Travaglini. We'll go with that. In sixth place, Clay Edwards. Congratulations to everybody at the top. A name that we don't say very often, but in his own right. Eighth place, Evan Girthy. So, Double G's brother.
Yes, and only one of his two brothers that were also ultimately in the field. His other brother, Alex, also in the field out there as well this weekend. So great to see, and that's always part of being here at this event, is seeing the Girthy crew out there in full force. Yeah, Double G, clearly, like you said, putting it down really during that second round, opens up the first round with a 13 under, which is a pretty good score at Northside. Then heads over to Jonesville. Some said it was a course record. I would have no problem believing that. He gets 14 out of the 18 holes. They're all par threes. He goes on to birdie 14 out of the 18. And so shoots that 1091 rated round. So going into final day with a 12-stroke lead, obviously feels like a insurmountable number that would need an epic collapse of all time, no matter how good someone else plays. 12 strokes in 18 holes when you're talking about a guy that's rated 1026.
Yeah, you're not.
That shouldn't be something. That shouldn't be a storyline at all. Is overcoming that. So AJ couldn't quite do that.
But what he did do on that final round was get a unique ace, we'll say.
Yeah.
And if you want to take a look at that, you can go to the Disc Golf Guy footage. It is out there on YouTube. That is the round 3 AJ Carey throw. It's a blind ace, and we'll leave it at that. We'll push some. We'll push some of the views over to.
Yes, if you go out there and look for it, you'll kind of see it.
Right?
Yeah, it's hole 3. It's
hole 3. Go out there and check it out. I'm sure Terry will make a separate video of it later, but for now, please go out and check it out. We're going to talk a little bit more about the FPO. Number 1, not just on the leaderboard, but in your heart, Terry. Jessica Weiss. She wins, shooting a 13 under par, beating Sarah Hokum by 3 strokes. In third place, Holly Finley, shooting a 5 under par. Fourth place, Morgan Linz at 2 under par. Fifth place, Arina Shakova at a 1 over par. And in sixth place, Deanne Carey at 2 over par. Those were your top. Well, for the FPO, I went with all the cashing.
Yeah, and Jessica overcoming a deficit going into that final round.
7 strokes better.
Yeah,
Sarah Hokum
ultimately was able to overcome a 4-stroke deficit to take down the win by 3.
And some amazing shooting by Sarah Hokum those first 2 rounds. 995, 997. Unfortunately, follows it up that third round with a 917, so that Jessica, who played a little bit more consistent, we'll say, like just a little bit more level with her rounds, was able to come back and catch her.
Yeah, and I want to say it was through hole 7 or 8, I remember checking the scores and seeing that it still, I think, was in Sarah's favor. And so there was a little jockeying and a little jostling around near the end of that round. So congrats to Jessica. Great battle. Sarah Hokum winning the weekend before down in Florida. And I know we're going to see Sarah and Holly, 2 out of the top 3, are all going to be playing this upcoming weekend. I believe they're over at the South Florida Open. So a couple of our Masters eligible women certainly having some good late season surges here.
And finally, we'll just wrap it up a little MP40 action. We don't always do this, but number 1, Johnny McRae shooting 22 under par, a 4-stroke victory over Dutch Napier. Dutch, number 1 in our heart. Only guy with the Smashbox tattoo that I know of. Third place, tie with Jay Simpson and Alan Schuett. So congratulations there to everyone. And Johnny McRae shooting a 1021, 1014, and a 1018. The guy still got it. He has still got it.
Yeah, same thing, though. Great battle between those two. During the very first round, Dutch had actually a 2-stroke. I thought it was only 1, but it looks like, according to this, it's 2. 2-stroke lead after the first round. Johnny gets 1 of those back during the second round, and then they had a battle as well coming down to the last couple of holes. It was much closer than the 5-stroke swing that they are showing ultimately on the card. It was much closer, and it really just came down to the last few holes where Johnny McRae, again, MP50 eligible, taking it down in the MP40 division. So a good battle between the two of them. And I want to give a quick, plug. I make no commissions on this.
We should.
Maybe. I know that Jennifer McCrae is offering up a paid service of doing and working with your social media content. So if you're a player or a small business, anything, I don't know if she just limited to the disc golf industry, but that's probably who's listening here tonight. If you are looking for some help with your social media, she has been pretty much exclusively handling Johnny's for some time now. And I know she's getting, it feels like daily, she's getting more and more ambitious and creative when it comes to doing things for TikTok and Instagram and so on and so forth.
That's phenomenal.
So she made a post about this last week just saying, hey, I am available for those services. I don't know what her rates look like. I don't know any of those details. But she did make that post on Facebook last week. And then when I saw her, I said, hey, I think that's great. I think there's a ton of people that could use your services because there's a lot of people who just do social media poorly or non-existent, and I think it would be great. And so we'll see if she builds up maybe a little bit of a client base.
Maybe she should work for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. They just made a post today saying that they were looking for a social media person part-time
over what looks like the next few months. I believe I saw it basically from now until February is what I think I saw in the job posting. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what I saw, and it showed that it was part-time, and I think they put a salary range in there as well. I don't know if it was
$1 million.
Yeah. I'd like them to pay me some more money.
Well, we'll work on that.
Just, get me paid. Pay me. Pay demand his money.
Demand his money.
So, yes, there's a couple social media opportunities out there is what I guess we can say there. So I think it's great. It's such a perfect job to be doing while you're on the road, and
it really is.
If you have this relationship with a couple of players where they're sending you, a couple of basic things, and then that's the job of the social media manager or content manager to put something together for you so that you can get your account up and running. A little secret, and I don't think this is a bad secret, but there's a number of our players.
I hope not.
Well, I was just gonna say there's a number of our players that are currently using social media services.
Sure.
And I applaud them because it's so much better. If that's not your strong suit, find somebody that can help you with it, because clearly it's going to help you in the long run in terms of your overall marketability. So those are a couple of things that we saw this weekend. Thank you to the Chainhawk crew. Thank you to everyone that was involved. Quick plug for our friends over at Ace Run. Felix was there working on the action on the FPO side. He has a significant logjam, I think, of a ton of great content, and I think he was actually releasing Myrtle Beach footage this weekend. So he has filmed all 3 rounds of the FPO side, and then that will also be released, and that's going to be all exclusively on Ace Run Pro's channel. So, of course, make sure you guys
go check
that out. It was great to see Felix and hang out with him.
We're sure you're probably already all subscribed to the channel, but just in case you forgot to hit that subscribe button, please go ahead and do that.
Get on it.
For them, for us, for Terry. If you have to unsubscribe to another disc golf content like Simon, that's okay. If you have too many subscriptions, he's got plenty. Just give us some.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Here's I'm going to give a plug that I hope makes sense to you guys, and maybe I talked about it briefly last week. I have no idea when my Disc Golf Guy channel is going to get to 100,000 subs. It's not really ever a number I thought about or have put too much concern in, although once you get near that number, then for some reason it gets a little exciting. I am running it right now on my Patreon that when I hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'm going to look back, and anyone that's a Patreon supporter of mine 2 months prior to that date,
or longer.
2 months or longer, is going to be eligible for just a free disc. And by eligible, I mean you're just going to get one. Like, it's not a drawing. It's not a one in so many. Like, every person that is a supporter of 2 months or longer from the date that I hit 100,000, you're going to get a free disc sent to you. I'm going to need your address. We're going to have to go through all that rigmarole. But I'm more than ecstatic to do so. I think it's maybe a couple hundred people or something right now, or whatever the number is. It doesn't matter.
Is it going to have a cool 100,000 stamp?
Yeah, I'm going to have to come up with something that is, it won't just be a generic disc. It will definitely be it may not be
a stock groove.
Yeah, just a stock. Just an Arobi Epic.
If you had enough of those, you could
actually those might have some value.
Those would have some value, Terry.
No, it will be some special stamp. It might not be exclusive to just you that time, but it will be a custom stamp designated as much as 100,000. So this is a roll of the dice.
Yeah, someone's saying you could give away your Ontarios. You'd have enough of them.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. This is a roll of the dice because I could hit 100,000 tomorrow, or it could be 6 months, and then you've been on board for 6 months. But the whole point is,
clever boy.
I want to thank all of you guys for supporting me in this journey as I get near that. I don't want to say meaningless number. It's a cool milestone to some regard.
It's a big even number.
Yeah, exactly, and I like those. So, speaking of numbers and updates.
Well, I was going to say, we're going to keep it in Florida is actually what we're going to do. There's a little bit of Florida news going on. The first little bit of Florida news that I wanted to bring up was those of you that remember, Paul Macbeth and Dylan Cease purchased the Throwdown the Mountain property, and they have their own little LLC called McCease LLC.
Clever.
Very clever. And immediately after purchasing it, they got sued. Well, that lawsuit has now officially been thrown out. It's gone. The judge threw out the lawsuit because the gentleman, the gentleman did not reply to the judge's requests in a significant amount of time. He can still refile the lawsuit. I doubt he's going to, but that is a possibility. So just so we're aware, McCease LLC, free and clear, no current lawsuits that we're aware of.
Until I file mine.
I mean,
we should come up with one. We'll come up with one. Yeah. That was just announced in the last couple of days, I believe on yesterday during Monday, like you had said, thrown out. And it I guess like you were kind of referencing, specifically it said, dismissed without prejudice, which basically means that it could, like you said, could be brought back up, but dismissed without prejudice. So, so a lot of people have just been kind of curious as to where that is or what's going on. Timing just shook out now.
Yeah, it's working out perfect.
So there we go.
And now keeping it with Macbeth, that particular location, we know that the Disc Golf Pro Tour is going to be starting their season of the actual Elite Series events at the Throwdown the Mountain course, as we're going to call it. I don't know if it has an official name yet.
The Grand Canyon is
that's
largely...
That's what it's been called, but I don't know if they're going to call it something different
Correct.
now.
So
I'm just going to keep calling it the Throwdown the Mountain course because it seems to be what everyone knows.
Pretty much the whole world knows it
Yeah,
as.
that's how everyone knows it. Well, we all know that it's going to be called the Florida Open. We do know that. Or do we? It might be called the Florida Invitational. And it was announced that chess.com, CHESS, chess.com. No T at the end of that. Just chess.com. Don't go to that other one. Or do. I don't care. It's your life, man.
Yeah.
I'm not here to judge you.
We're not judging.
I'm not here to judge you.
Do what you got to do.
Chess.com is the primary sponsor of the Florida Open. Not a lot of details as far as the amount they're giving or anything like that, but there was a really funny video that they put out with a pawn chess piece at a course, chess and checkers. You can go out and find it. But it's really cool that we're seeing a sponsor from outside the disc golf industry come in and sponsor an event. I'd love to get more information, and hopefully we'll talk to Paul at some point about how this all panned out. Was this a Paul connection? Was this a Disc Golf Pro Tour connection to chess.com? Like, who reached out to whom? And I believe that the chess.com gentleman is a disc golfer, one of them. I've seen him on the disc golf Reddits. I believe his name is something like Chris from chess.com or something.
Clever.
Yeah, very clever. I'll have to go and look because I know he's been out there. But I do want to get a little bit more information as far as how this all came together. But very cool. Chess.com, the Florida Open / Invitational.
Clearly, we saw the video that made the announcement. And playing into the collaboration and the overall sponsorship. Do you feel, since we know none of the additional details, do you feel like this is just like their primary objective is to make their website more well known? I mean, it's just 100%, or do you think because of the tie with the disc golf that it's almost more of a, I'll use the phrase donation versus sponsorship?
No, I mean, well, chess.com is a very large website. I believe a couple 100 million revenue is what someone had speculated that I'd seen. They're a company of, I think, 300 or 400 people.
Okay.
They do a subscription model if you'd like to play and do like these daily puzzles and these different help and all these things. You can play for free. The funny thing is, there was always two things that Mahmoud would do between MPO and FPO, or sometimes I'd come when we would be at the basement of the old house and he would stay late after the events to do a bunch of graphics. Mm-hmm. I'd go upstairs, hang out with the family, put the kids to bed, come back downstairs, and he was either doing one of, I guess, three things: working, playing Magic the Gathering, or playing chess, I think, on chess.com. So that was where my first exposure to that was. But from a little bit of anecdotal evidence, it seems like there's a little bit of overlap in chess.com subscribers to disc golfers. Just on one of the boards that I was listening in, there was a lot of people that were like, hey, I've got I do that, and I play chess on there once every couple weeks or once a week or whatever they do. And some guys like, yeah, I played it all my off season, and I got really good at chess. It's really helpful and this and that. So do I think it's like just an in-kind donation? No. I think that they're looking to expand their market base and just become better known. Like someone maybe who just hasn't thought about chess in a while. I'm not a chess player personally. I know how to play, but if why not try to make that conversion? Are we going to see? Here's the question for you, Terry. The pyramids underneath the baskets. Are we going to see one that looks like a pawn or a king or a rook?
I mean, we kind of already have one at 10 at Maple Hill, right, with a little castle. Yep. A little castle. I mean, that's an immediate, obvious play. Good question. Who knows what they're going to do and how the overall assets or coordination and everything else is going to look like. It is irrelevant largely because it's an online offering and solution. But any idea where they're based out of?
My understanding is that the gentlemen that own it came from BYU, which would be Utah.
Okay. So sometimes it feels like there's even a more obvious association when it might be in your backyard, so to speak. But if it doesn't have a Florida tie, then
and maybe there is some Florida tie. Maybe one of the guys came from Florida. I don't know.
Okay. I just wondered.
But I believe that they were BYU students that became and then now they do chess.com. So,
all right. Well, once we get more details, once the world gets more details as to what's that actually mean, the fact that there was the commercial that was made and that they are the presenting sponsor tells us obviously that it is a significant contribution. It is a significant sponsorship, because to have the title sponsorship over, for instance, a Discraft in this case is substantial. I think that just to me is the biggest indicator, because with Paul, you would assume that this, Paul and Dylan's property, but then Jeff Corns as your tournament director, your listed tournament director, you would assume that this would be in fact a largely Discraft bannered event, and it still will have plenty of Discraft representation. But the fact that they're not the full blown title sponsor tells you that there's obviously some significant contribution that's coming in from chess.com. So cool. I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I know how to play. It's not a major priority to me in order to play, but I love just seeing anything else that is bringing in non-disc golf. It's interesting when it's other things. I don't want to say that competes with disc golf. Like, for instance, when you play chess, you're not playing disc golf. When you're playing disc golf, you're not playing chess, generally speaking. As opposed to saying, when I'm eating my Johnsonville sausage, I'm definitely like, that's not in any competitive realm whatsoever. That's my only
I don't know. I mean, if you're sitting there watching an NFL game and there's a Fortnite commercial that comes on, do you feel like Fortnite competes with the NFL? Because I do. It's an attention-seeking device. I mean, you're looking at, I could be sitting here watching the football game, or I could be sitting playing Fortnite on my computer or something. Those are direct competitors, but yet not in the same space, so to speak. I feel like this, and I feel like this is the same thing too. Yes, clearly you're competing for attention, but I don't feel that they really. It's not a direct competition.
I agree. I totally agree.
Now, it'd be funny because I think if something like maybe pickleball or another sport advertised, like, hey, come play, the ultimate or something along those lines, maybe that would be more competition. But also chess.com, you could literally, you can play it at night, you can play it whenever. It's not, you don't necessarily have to be.
I understand. Yeah, I totally agree with all that. I think as we see these sponsors at a significant level come in, just how endemic are they to disc golf ultimately becomes the question. And we look at some of our biggest ones in the last few years of Johnsonville, LL Bean, Barbasol. Like there's certain obvious ties, but not necessarily are they in any form competitive.
Well, maybe they'll run some sort of advertising or sponsorship that while you're watching Disc Golf Network, if you're sitting on your iPad playing chess.com, maybe you can get some sort of discount or bonus, or you get an extra move before the other guy. You get 2 moves to every one of his.
I still don't even think I could beat most people that way.
No, me neither. Me neither. It's just
all right. So seemingly very cool. Again, it doesn't hit. It's not to downplay it. It doesn't hit you and I the same as it does. Like I think I saw Brian Earhart make a post, because Brian, I think, uses chess.com all the time.
Sure.
Maybe that's why he's so smart. I don't know. But that's why. So it's a little more exciting and personal to him than it is to you and I. But at the end of the day, it's definitely awesome for us.
It's great for the sport.
So, all right. We'll see what that all means. And also, we're not probably ever getting the numbers. If we're just being real, I'm guessing at no point will I be told, hey, chess.com is put in $28,000 or $77 or $109.
I think you're lying.
I don't know
you'll
if I'll
find
ever
out.
know those numbers.
I think you'll find out. Whether you can share it or not is another statement.
Oh,
I think you'll find out.
I don't know. Currently not scheduled to possibly even work that event.
That is insane to me. Like, I understand that. Like, and this is so behind the curtain stuff, that a preliminary schedule was put out for some of the commentators, and you noticed that you weren't on this particular event, which I think is kind of silly, because there's nobody that knows this course better than you, other than maybe Paul now. But even Paul, you've been there more. Maybe Barnett knows the course better than you.
Yeah, Mike Barnett definitely does. And a few of the tireless volunteers
of course. But I'm saying from a media perspective. You've covered it for like 15 straight years or something dumb. And
yeah, we'll see how the schedule works out. As of right now, I am not listed. It is a preliminary schedule. So as of right now, I don't believe that I'm listed to be working that event, which does feel weird.
Just change that. Just one event.
I'm not here. I'm not here to beg for work. If
no, you can take him off another job. I don't care. But this is one that he should be on.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how that all shakes out.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit about some sponsorship news. Not a ton of announcements, just a few of them since last week. I don't know if we talked about Connor O'Reilly, who announced he was signing with Lone Star.
No, I think that is just in the last few days.
Yep, that is a new sponsorship for him.
Yes.
And we did see an extension from AJ Carey and Deanne Carey. I believe it was a 1-year extension, as well as an extension with Lone Star as well. Sorry, yeah. And then Andrew Presnell extends with Discraft. He said he made a post out there saying he will again be on the tour team. So we're going to see another year of Andrew Presnell with Discraft. Those are more or less your big announcements, for the next, that we've seen in the last week or so.
The other one, and I'll give a full update to what happened last week. I'm going to see if I can find, hopefully even, I'm not sure if it was just a story, so it may not be able to, I may not be able to pull it up. But last week, as we were closing out, I was telling you guys, it was during during our actual show, I was reminded that Luque had reached out to me and was looking for me to write a referral so that she could hopefully obtain a sports visa. At 3 a.m., I was writing up this sports visa
because it was due that day.
It was due the next day.
So Terry more or less pulled like the middle school, like, and granted, he only got the assignment like a day ahead of time.
Yes.
But then at like 3 a.m, he's finishing up his report.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And I ended up talking with her the next morning when I woke up, and I said, hey, I have this pretty much done. Is it too late? And she said, no, they still need it. We'll still take the referral. So I wrote up some, I don't want to just say kind, but they were kind, but they were also very legitimate, referral type details in what we've seen from her and the sportsmanship and everything else that we've seen from her, and also closing out her year on a pretty solid note, especially with the World's finish that she had.
That great putt to finish up.
Sixth, the highest finishing Norwegian in World's history, all this other great stuff. And I've actually knew her, I don't want to say before everyone else, but in the U.S.
You're a hipster.
Before quite a few people, because it was at the 2019 PCS that I attended. Avery Jenkins was there, Eagle McMahon was there, and a few others. I had met her there, and that was before PCS was on the map as well in terms of an elite series. I actually shared some living quarters with her for the weekend, along with a bunch of other people right there on the course. So I do feel qualified to talk about the sportsmanship and everything else that we've seen from her. She made an update yesterday or the day before just saying, hey, super excited. I'm going to have a new sponsor announcement, and we have officially submitted for this visa, and right now it's all been submitted, and right now it's a waiting game. So she's hoping to announce both a new sponsor as well as hopefully a 5-year visa. I think it's 5 years. A sports visa, I think those are typically 5 years. All we can do is hang tight. So I guess as we're talking about sponsorships and news and whatnot, we saw that she had thanked Prodigy and said her goodbyes to Prodigy, and now it's just a matter of finding out where she's going to land on her feet and move forward. We'll see.
Yeah.
So best of luck to her. Hopefully,
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Anything I may have said, hopefully, will only increase her chances. As long as I didn't diminish them or decrease them, that's all I can hope for. So we'll find out. And yeah, the Connor O'Reilly news, I believe, was news since last week. So
okay, I couldn't remember if it was we didn't talk about it last week, but I couldn't remember if it was actually announced last Tuesday and we just missed it.
I feel like it was like Friday or something that he had made the announcement. So best of luck to Connor O'Reilly. Any other sponsor?
There's nothing sponsor related that we've seen coming out right now. It's still just, it's early December. I have to imagine we're going to start seeing some things maybe right before Christmas is my guess. For sure after Christmas, that week from Christmas to New Year, I think you're going to start seeing more and more announcements, whether they're I think we're going to see a lot, and this is just me guessing, a lot of Discraft extensions. Because I know a lot of the FPO Discraft players signed shorter-term contracts, and I don't see many of them leaving. So, but I don't know. So I just think we're going to see probably a bunch of extensions.
All right.
Just a quick shout-out, talking about FPO players. Congratulations to Kona Montgomery.
Yes.
She's if you don't follow her on whatever social media, I think she's on all of them probably. Mm-hmm. But Instagram is her primary one that I follow her on. She made the announcement that she is officially cancer-free. So nothing better, no better announcement in the sport than that right now. So congratulations, and she is now on the road to recovery. She's asking about if people want to kind of follow her in her workouts and what she's going to be doing to get herself back into disc golf shape with her and Colton. So congratulations, Kona. could not be happier for you.
Yeah, I think it was about this time last week. We may have just barely missed mentioning it last week. So, as you said, congratulations. And she has been very open and forthcoming with this journey. And as you said, best news you could possibly read or get an update from Kona. So great to see. Paige Pierce, in a similar sense, we're also seeing her continue to post about her recovery and fighting through and just trying to really trust her ankle. I feel like more than anything, if there's any phrase I would use the most, it feels like trusting her ankle and relearning a few things is essentially where she's at. And she also had the release with her brand new shoes in the last week or so.
And the little Unbroken documentary. I don't think we mentioned it last week. I think we forgot to.
It had come out that same day.
It came out that same day. We closed the show, and then we were like, oh, crap, we forgot to mention it. But yes, if you want to go out there and kind of take a look at that, you can follow her on her social medias as well, and she will give you, there's a link out there to see the Unbroken documentary, I believe.
Yeah, it's about 10 minutes and has some great insight as
8 minutes of those are the intro to disc golf. How the sport got started.
Exactly what you needed. Speaking of Discraft, extending himself around the sun one more time was Bob Giulio. So Bob celebrating a birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday, Bob.
Got to throw that in there. Good old Bob, who has been one of the main driving forces, I feel like, in seeing Discraft get really aggressive in the last 5 years. Some of you are new here. Discraft really put out a significant challenge isn't the word. Put out a concerted effort to go out and acquire the talent that they have in these last few years, which didn't feel as much of their focus. They clearly have had very talented people for many years, including all these world champs. However, they've really got aggressive in the last few years in what they've done. And I feel as if a lot of that charge was led by one Bob Giulio. So, of course, there's a lot of people that have to say yes and sign some checks and do other things. But I feel like Bob was one of the main driving forces to where they're at today. So happy birthday to Bob. All right. And I'm going to, while we're at it, I feel like we're just giving plugs and updates for all of our players. And you know what? We're here for that because we're just that kind of feel-good scenario. I got an update, and I do want to share this. He's obviously a good friend of the show, and I think he even does some stuff on his own. The Paul Ulibarri Leadership Foundation. I just want to read a couple notes to you. It says, are you looking for a way to make a difference in disc golf? Consider giving to the Ulibarri Leadership Foundation. The foundation empowers college-bound athletes, disc golf athletes, to pursue higher education through the granting of scholarships based on academic achievement, athletic excellence, sportsmanlike manner, and financial need. Our goal is to give out $8,000 worth of scholarships in 2024. In order to do that, we need your help. Please give now by going to uli.foundation/donate. So check that out. Ulibarri Foundation, Ulibarri Leadership Foundation. Okay. Speaking of which, I think I'm going to see at least one of the Ulis this weekend.
More than likely,
Pete. Yes. Quick free plug. I, for the first time, will be excited and insight and in person and ready to go to cover the Big Arm Challenge. You ready for that, Johnny?
Am I ready for the Big Arm Challenge?
Is it really a challenge if you're not there? The Big Arm Challenge?
Yeah, because I if you want to go long arm challenge, I'm in.
Okay.
Like big, no one's ever accused me of having big arms or a big arm.
Well, here I'm going to give a precursor to this since some of you may not be familiar with it. It's in its fourth year, and Vista del Camino, which you saw a few weeks ago in the PLO layout, and then you usually see in the what they call the Vista XL layout. They deem this the Vista XXL layout.
So it's perfect for you.
Not funny. This is what's known as the Vista XXL layout. There is 50 open players registered. I'm just going to read off a couple of the top throwers and highest rated players that we'll be covering this weekend. Hopefully some or all of these guys will have some coverage. AB, Anthony Barella, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's out of Arizona. Out of Mesa.
The name rings a bell.
AB, Aaron Gossage, Parker Welk, Andrew Miranda, Jacob Curtis, a.k.a. Cupcake, Connor Rock, Jake Brown, a couple of the guys that you've seen very specifically on coverage of mine, especially in the last few months. So it's going to be pretty cool to see. It's Saturday and Sunday, one round each day. I'm going to probably release coverage on like Monday and Tuesday in hopes of garnering a few more views on it and getting people all ready to go. But I'll be out there covering it this weekend. So look for the Disc Golf Guide channel to have that. And that's taking place out at the Vista XXL layout, the Big Arm Challenge 4. I believe originally started or co-TD'd by Jordan Castro. I know he was a big part of that. I think he's a little more in the back seat this year. But the Desert Flyers and the rest of that crew are picking it up and running with it. So, yeah, you should come out to Arizona and play.
Not in play. I mean, what's the MA40 crowd look like?
MA, I think it's full, but
probably.
Yeah, there's 8 right now. I think they're full. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you've ever wanted to put discs in the water at Vista, I mean, now would be a good time.
It wouldn't be the first. I mean, it could be the last. I don't know how I'm going to play there, but it definitely wouldn't be the first time I've put discs in water at Vista.
No.
Wait, I'm trying to think.
And at Fountain.
At Fountain, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's
yeah,
easy.
I for sure put discs in the water at Vista. Probably on the gunite hole.
Probably 13, yeah. What it used to be, yeah.
Used to be I just call it the gunite hole because the numbers are always different. So everyone kind of knows where you throw from the pavilion up to over the
and they lengthened it since you were there.
Well, that's awesome. So now I will almost most certainly just go off to the right, which I've never done in the past.
No, but you would not. If Kale LaVisca lays up to the right side, you should be as well.
I'm definitely, because I'm trying to think where else I would have gone in the water on that course.
I mean, it's easy for a few to leak in, even on like hole 18.
The old hole 8. I've never gone in on 18, even though I've only played that particular position like once or twice. I was thinking maybe the hole after the long walk back. It's been different holes.
Sure. That would actually be 13 now.
Yeah, it would be 13.
The course hole number 1.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a good place to go.
That would have been a place I probably would have gone in the water. I could have maybe gone on, I think it's old hole 8, but I don't think I ever really did.
Yeah, 8 or 9. 9's an easy place to do it, the downhill. So.
9, I don't know if no, because I always played that one really safe because I knew I didn't want to lose one there. But so I'll say this. I did see, I remember it vividly, watching somebody on hole 7, well, what we used to call 7, so after the first long walk.
Yep.
Watch someone throw it like
you're saying up on 8 or on 7?
No, on 7. After the long walk, you go up there.
Then you get across to 7.
You get across. I saw someone yank it so far right into that pond. Just tried to power throw one and grip locked it and just that thing had to be at least 100 feet into that water. And that's a good ways to get to the water. And then you just it just got up and flipped and just held. And you're just like, that's a hell of a long drive the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So I've definitely seen that. I don't think I've ever been in the water on the right, but I've definitely looked for discs.
Yeah, and what you're talking about on 7, and many of you have watched, it's usually the easiest par 4 on the course, hole number 7 in the Vista XL layout. I think they actually play kind of backwards, and that will be the 18th hole.
Okay.
So you're playing it coming from a different spot, and you're going to play all of that hole and then some, and that will actually be where hole 18 fine. So I watched some of the drone previews. I'm really excited to see what the layout and to see what these big guns, these big throwers can do out there this weekend. So I just wanted to give the plug because I'm excited to head back out to Arizona and to get the coverage for you guys. And that's exactly the plan this weekend. So.
I was always much more of a classic guy. I threw my discs in the water at Fountain.
Yeah.
None of that Vista stuff.
Yeah, who needs that Vista stuff when you can do it at Fountain? That makes up for it. I like it. And along that note, if we apply just the right amount of pressure, my hidden secret that's not a secret anymore when I tell you this, I'm gonna ask to get Ricky to do commentary with me.
Oh, I thought you
because he's not playing in the event.
I thought you were gonna say catch cam.
I did. That's funny. I harassed him at the PLO. I said, "Hey, why don't you get out here with a camera?"
Come on,
He's like,
buddy.
"No, that's your job. You get out there." So it would be funny to put him on catch cam. No,
Just for one hole.
I want the plan. Here's my plan, and it's been talked about. I want to try and get Rick to do commentary because it'd be great because it's going to be obviously like AB and Parker and these people that he knows, but he's not playing in the event. So to have him do commentary, I think would be a lot of fun.
Here's what I want.
Uh-oh.
I want Rick to do commentary.
Okay.
But I want razzing Rick.
Oh,
I want Rick just to like
talking about why do you throw it in the junk?
Just brutal. Like, oh, AB, you're so
Rick,
dumb for doing that. And
Rick unleashed.
I want Rick unleashed. I want no holds barred. Rick just to kind of
razz round Rick.
Almost razz round. Like for
if
commentary.
If it's needed. I mean, it might be nothing but praising.
I doubt it.
We'll see.
No.
Okay.
On.
Well, Rick.
I want a little razz round Rick. Just enough. Just
that's fair.
Honest.
We'll see if we can. I mean, why not? Right. This seems like
this
a perfect
is a fun event
for it. It's a fun event. There's a good chance I'm going to be staying with him at his place. So if I can convince him of it, I like your plan.
Or I want in the pool commentary Rick. So Rick is just in the pool chilling, just maybe on like a floaty with a microphone as he's watching video. It's like, oh, AB, you're in the water. So am I. Look at this. Come on. We can do it. We can do it, Rick. We'll come up with a good one.
I think you're onto something. I love it. All right. So that's what's happening. I'm going to shift gears, especially because it just popped up on my feed 2 seconds ago. So I'll read it off what I'm seeing here. Not only is GK Pro heading to New Zealand for the tour down under, I'm seeing some other specifics, including what looks like Nate Perkins. We already know Juliana Korver is going to be down there. Luke Humphreys, of course, is going to be there. So looking forward to it. Looks like Sullivan Tipton's going to be down there. So is there anyone else?
Down in New Zealand, they're going to do some OTB skins?
Yeah, some OTB skins. And then I think the overall tour for the New Zealand tour this year is 4 weeks, and it conflicts with my Southeast Asia tour. Otherwise, I know I can't. But if obviously, Gatekeeper.
Gatekeeper's going to be there. I say, if you pay me, Terry, I'll go to New Zealand and do filming.
No,
but Gatekeeper's got it covered.
Yeah. No, it's not Gatekeeper. What? I got to correct that. GK Pro. I may have misspoke. Sorry.
You did, and then you made me misspeak.
Well,
GK Pro. We all know GK Pro does the skins. So, always have.
Yes. Hope that they have a good time, and looking forward to it. Oh, that's going to be awesome. So, all right. Corey Ella's celebrating a birthday if we're just shouting things out. Let's get it in there.
Oh, happy birthday, Corey.
Happy birthday. All right. What else do we know here, Johnny? Other things going on since obviously the tour conversation, not the tour, the sponsorship conversations, like you said, are probably 2 to 3 weeks out before we see, I'm going to call it not quite a max exodus, but we're definitely going to see a lot of people in the next couple of weeks when they know they're done playing for the year. They're going to say, hey, thank you to sponsor so-and-so. Mm-hmm. Soon I'll be announcing my new sponsor. That's going to be what you're mostly going to see. Is it worth speculating, or do we just... I'm good with waiting, but do you have any other wild speculations out there?
No. I mean, the only speculation that I have, a little bit of Eagle speculation, was just that I said a couple weeks ago when he made his announcement about his shoulder, the surgery, that he looked very calm and relaxed, like he had kind of things under control. And I kind of made the assumption that, like, I think Discmania is going to re-sign him. I'm starting to wane on that a little bit. I just think that it might be, and I truly don't know anything about anything in general, but especially about this, that he could have been really relaxed because he's already made a decision, is what I was thinking. I'm like, well, maybe he's not going with Discmania. Maybe he is. I honestly don't know, but it would not shock me to see Eagle spread his wings. I have to use the analogy. I'm sure I'm the first.
Yeah. Good one. Good pull.
Yeah, totally. And maybe move from Discmania. But I don't know. He could re-sign tomorrow and make me look foolish, which wouldn't be the first time.
Well,
definitely won't be the last.
obviously, if we're just going to quickly regurgitate a lot of the speculation, is the fact that he may or may not be moving, and then also does that impact someone like a Gannon, who is also rumored to be fielding offers, and last year the number one candidate seemed as if it was
the big rumor was Discmania for multiple reasons, that Discmania really wanted to sign him and that he was very close to it, but then obviously with the lawsuit and whatnot, that ended up not happening. I mean, the big question is, can Discmania sign Eagle, Kyle, and Gannon? Like that's a lot on your plate for three. I mean, you're talking three of the top, possibly 5 players in the world. I mean, Kyle's got to be close. You're talking top 5 players. Maybe you would argue he's like a top 7, but that's so. Does the Eagle decision change anything? I mean, I'm sure right by now everybody knows that's in the know there. Discmania knows, Eagle knows. I'm sure Gannon probably knows where he's going. I'm sure, Kyle's probably, I think Kyle's still signed for another year.
That's what I was just going to say. I'm pretty sure Kyle had signed a year or two ago.
Yeah, I think he's got one more
year. I don't think he's up.
Pretty sure he has this full year going yet.
So
But in general, does that make a difference? Is that going to be a determining factor? Could Discmania do what Discraft did a couple of years ago, sign a couple big players and really start to push their brand? And because we know they've got the backing of House of Discs.
Yeah.
House of Disc. I don't know if that's plural or not. I'm not sure.
House of Discs. That would make more sense.
It would make more sense, but that's not necessarily, doesn't mean anything.
The House of Discs. The ultimate disc golf company.
When you speak it, you need to be more clear with your final S, because it is House of Discs.
House of Discs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's like the third time you've basically.
I'm just saying it's the House of Discs.
Yeah, you're like a very Midwestern slur at the end of that.
The House of Discs.
I can't even say it like you. House of Discs.
At any rate, it is listed as the House of Discs.
House of Discs. And
Discs.
So they have plenty of cash behind them. Will they try to make a big push for a top tier team with Discmania, or is there some sort of internal budget and Discmania is going to, can they only afford to sign one person? These are all things we're going to find out. Other than that, I mean, we all know, I think Gannon is going to, I think he had his foot out the door most of the year, and it would take a really good offer to keep him.
And it may or may not even come down to dollars and cents.
It might not.
There may be some emotional. Yeah,
I've always said, more dollars make that emotion go away.
Certainly,
because if Prodigy turned around and said, "All right, we're going to do the $1 million a year," I bet you that soothes a lot behind the scenes. Not that they're going to, not that they can. I'm just saying that if they could, that would definitely probably make a lot of bad feelings go by the wayside. So if we've got basically Gannon and Eagle, and I think Gannon is mostly out the door. To whom, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if Eagle is mostly out the door. I think he'd be smart if he was exploring and hearing offers, but who knows where he's going to go.
I guess we'll see. I don't know if that I love that the House of Discs.
Thank you.
Their tagline is
"We got cash."
No, is the ultimate disc golf company, and I just feel like
depends on if they plan on getting to the ultimate side of the sport.
Ultimate is just when you're talking about confusion within frisbee related things. Ultimate is just an easy word to then skip and not use. Now maybe I'm being, is pedantic the word? I don't know, but the ultimate disc golf company. There's just I would have used a different word.
Yes.
Unless, like you said, I guess.
Would it shock you? I mean, they already make an Ultimate Disc, technically. I don't know if DD still does that. They did have the Aviator, right? That's what it was. So I don't know if they're still selling that.
I don't think they're going for that play.
I don't think they are either. But you don't know. If disc golf works out really well for them,
but still,
maybe they buy an Ultimate Team.
I don't know. No, I don't love it. Don't come after me. And if you want to sponsor something I'm doing, I'm still listening. But I just don't love that word in their motto tagline.
That's fine. I'm sure they'll really contemplate it on their bed of money. Their mattress full of $100 bills they'll be like, "Whoa, man!"
What did the disc golf guy say that one night?
Terry Miller, and then they'll show the gif of Woody Harrelson dabbing his tears with the cash.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Ray on the board says his prodigy buddies Alden and Isaac have how many more years on contract? Before I answer that or even go on, yes.
Isaac has another year.
And Kyle Klein, speaking of Discmania, is signed through 2026. It was a 2023 through 2026 extension.
I thought it was through 2024.
No, it's an extension.
Or 2025. I thought it was through 20. Okay, that's either way.
Either way.
So good. So Kyle's locked up. Alden, I believe, Isaac, I know, has one more year on his contract. And I think Alden was up this year.
Yes, I believe that.
Because there were rumors of Alden going to Discmania to be with Gavin. But again, I think the hard part with that crew is that when you see one of them go somewhere, because they're so tight knit, there's so much. It always feels like someone's like, oh yeah.
Like there's an assumption?
Yeah, like there's an assumption that, one of their buddies is there, so they're going to go there. It's kind of like how everybody that I've seen is kind of assuming Luca is going to go to Innova because Bradley Williams is there for now, even though Bradley's is up, and we talked about that last week. I don't make that assumption at all. I think these guys are smart, they're young, and they're going to go where they get the best deal. And if that's Latitude 64, if that's Legacy Discs, if that's wherever it's going to be, DGA, whomever, DD, they're going to go where they get their best deal. It's not going to affect their relationship. It's not going to affect Alden's videos, clearly, as we saw when Gannon was having his issue with Prodigy. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see... He very well could. Alden could go to Discmania, but I'm not putting any money on it.
Okay. Well, lots of others are ending here in 2023, and it will be a matter of if we see an extension on those or not. I mean, when you look at it, even I didn't realize this, but Double G is listed as ending, as his contract being up here in 2023 with Innova. And I know it's hard to think of him being anywhere else on the planet, but
anything could happen. But it's really hard for me to see. Like, there's a few people it's very difficult for me to see them going anywhere. I think technically JK is on her last year too.
That's how she is listed. Yes,
I couldn't see her leaving Innova. I can't see Double G leaving. Bradley Williams is another one. It's like it would be very tough. Like I feel like Bradley Williams has, like almost his entire body in that Innova store, and but he might peak out depending on what's offered.
Anything is possible, and also conversation is certainly happening around the idea of, Latitude 64, who had such a huge push a few years ago, a massive push, and it kind of felt like they were sponsoring almost everybody. And now it feels as if we're seeing a little less effort in re-signings or whatever. And that may or may not be, obviously.
They could have a master marketing plan. And a lot of this people are saying, would it make sense for LAT to have all the Europeans and then have Discmania or DD kind of have all of the Americans?
Yeah.
I don't know if it all depends on what you're looking for. To me, that seems silly, to be honest, only because
you love the cross branding.
You love the cross branding, because why would you limit Lat 64 to the Europeans in a European market? Mm-hmm. Where they already have a good foothold? Why wouldn't you want to do something like, hey, let's bring in, we'll just say Gannon. Let's bring in Gannon into Lat 64 and try to push some of that into the US, or have Antala come over to DD or something to help push DD in Europe. I think segregating it like that is a bad idea, and that you would almost want to really kind of have a true mixture of your team. And granted, when we say team, these are disc teams. A lot of it, it's not team. So,
Greg Festian, who I'll see in Samui in a matter of weeks. Happy birthday.
Doctor of Disc Golf asks Terry and Johnny, how many pros do you think stick with their current sponsor regardless of potential better offers? I think that's...
I think
it depends on the better offer.
Exactly.
If it's significantly a better offer, I think people jump ship. But there are a few that do have their loyalties. I'll give like Yuli for an example at this point now, and I know, which is really funny because he's bounced around a lot in the past. I think it would take a real significant change at this point in his career for him to leave Discraft, and I kind of feel that way about Germ too, like or Nate Sexton. Like Nate, both of those guys I think have really good relationships with Innova, and it would take a giving them an extra $40,000 a year. I don't think they would move. Maybe Germ. I don't think Sexton, based on the fact that his wife is a doctor and he's raking it in with the Firebirds. I don't think that's enough. I don't know Germ's financial situation, but it just feels, that's...
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to put an exact number on it. Does the 40,000 you just mentioned, does that include or take into account for, say Sexton's Firebird sales or not, so on and so forth? Yeah, so it's not always just apples to apples, clearly. I mean, it was said on the board, Lindsay said it, like, who would have thought that we'd ever see Des Redding leave Innova? I thought I certainly would have never guessed that in a million years. Then again, how many years ago was it that we never thought we'd, necessarily see Val leave Innova or Paul Macbeth go to Discraft? And I mean, there's a lot of these changes that just as you feel that feel like they're cemented in, some of them have been flipped on their head. Simon leaving Discmania for maybe what was then a very unlikely candidate.
I think it's
MVP.
worked out for them.
I'm not clearly. I'm obviously, but at the time, or if you would have said 5 years ago, hey, I think Simon Lizotte is going to be playing for MVP. If you said that 5 years ago, you would have been laughed.
Sure, but that also MVP was such a smaller company.
They've
picked up a lot of steam in the last 4 years.
You would have certainly been laughed right off of that conversation, or out of the room with that. So, and it's obviously worked out for all of the parties, and I think it's awesome. So, I think that just kind of goes to show that anything is possible now at this point, and we'll see how it goes.
And Lindsay asks, if you had to pick an out of left field player to make a move, who would you pick? Steve Rico. I think that's as far as out of left field as I can get. He's going to leave Legacy. He's going to stay with the company, still own it, but get sponsored by someone else.
Yeah, that would definitely be a wild one.
I couldn't even pick one at this point.
I don't know how that would work, but it would be funny.
It would be great. It'd be hilarious.
Anyway. Nothing else in terms of the schedule. We're seeing that the Disc Golf Masters Tour, I think we touched on that last week, but we're seeing that that's getting more cemented in place and going to transpire, of course, for 2024. And the PDGA has now, I don't want to say backed it more, but it has partnered more and embraced it and supported it. I think they're going to do so even more so coming up in 2024. I think that was maybe some of what we saw. Also, we saw news this weekend. Trevor Harbault not going to continue his MPO journey. He's getting old like us.
He's getting old like us. Yeah, he's going to be doing MP40.
So,
which again, Trevor was he was never a big name on the DGPT. He was a known commodity just because he's been around for quite a while. He's playing where he should now. Like he's not competing in MPO on the Disc Golf Pro Tour any longer. MP40 is a good spot for him to be.
We will see what he brings. Maybe the Masters Tour is something that he even has his sights specifically set on. I guess we'll find out. There was something else. I apologize regarding the PDGA that was. Oh yeah. I apologize. There was a call out for. I'm going to find it so I can not screw it up for you guys. Well, that doesn't mean I still won't. Seeking nominations for the Becky Zalek Women's Choice Award. The PDGA Women's Committee is requesting nominations from women and girls who are current PDGA members for candidates for the Becky Zalek Women's Choice Tournament Director of the Year Award. It's an award given each year to a TD who has proven to be a leader amongst their peers in providing a tournament atmosphere that is friendly to women and girls. These TDs keep women's needs top of mind and go the extra mile to ensure a positive experience for women regardless of their experience or skill level. So nominations will be accepted from December 5th through December 29th. And you can submit your nomination if you are a current PDGA member. So wanted to throw that out there. And in the inaugural year, one of our favorite Smashies, Sarah Nicholson, was awarded that a few months ago in the very first offering of it. So
rightfully so, too.
Congrats to her yet again. All right. We already talked about what's coming up this next weekend. Some tournaments, Florida. Some people are going international. Scott Stokely's running clinics. We'll get that plug in there. Scott, also, I do want to get a plug in. For the 4th year in a row, he is going to be doing a Christmas gathering live stream where he then invites a ton of top pros that are coming in, usually for 15 to 30 minute segments or so. And it just kind of gives everyone an opportunity. Maybe you don't have a wide network of people or friends or loved ones that you're necessarily around or surrounded with. He's trying to ensure that there's some love and disc golf positivity that gets shared around the world. So Scott Stokely hosting his 4th annual Christmas live stream, and he continues to add superstars to that list. Simon being one of the most recent that was added.
I saw Owen Scoggins is supposed to join as well. That should be awesome.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Give her some eggnog and let her go.
Yeah, something tells me she's going to be having a good time, and I appreciate. I appreciate him working so hard to doing that. DG was booming 1.5 to 2 years ago, but that has leveled out in 2023. We're definitely not on the spiking upward trajectory that we once were. Has it actually slid back down, or has it plateaued and maintains? Is it still going upwards, but just at the slightest grade, as opposed to? Well,
for years,
there's a lot of different ways to.
Yeah, for years we were at 7% growth or whatever.
I think it was 10 to 15% annual growth
in the past.
Yeah, like annually, year after year.
Okay,
it was averaging anywhere from 10 to 15%.
So let's just say we're at 10% growth. That feels so little compared to what we just went through. So are we still growing at 10%? It's hard to say. Are we growing at 2%? Are we? I don't feel like we're declining, but it's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But we've definitely, like you said, we're not at the rocket ship right now.
Yes, things have calmed down, and we talked about that. We touched on that last week, just about with sponsorship levels. What does that mean? Discs aren't selling nearly as fast as they were. We aren't seeing this insane growth of, every tournament on the planet selling out in what feels like 10 seconds. All of that stuff, not quite as quick, but things are still growing steadily. So just isn't quite what it used to be. All right. I think we can close things out and have a semi-regular show that's on the short side.
I'm okay with that.
Regular show being on the short side. I'm totally okay with that as well. Keep stuff coming in on the board, because then we can interact with anything else that you have for suggestions or questions that can come in on the board, and we can talk about those in the after show. I've got a new product that came in. I'll talk about it a little bit more. Yeah, is that a mini? It is mini sized. A couple of sweet minis. I want to talk about these and some other things. And of course, the after show always features the giveaway.
That's right. Shout out to Sheldon Smith, who I'm just about to grab the list of names. He signed up for a Patreon today at the $3 level.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Thanks, Sheldon. Much appreciated.
Yeah, and you're going to be eligible tonight. Those odds aren't in your favor, but
last week we first-time winner. What was it, Matt Sayers last week?
Yeah. So anything
knows,
is
Sheldon?
possible. So we appreciate you signing up, and Johnny pulls up-to-date current Patreon information week in and week out.
I usually try to do it between the regular show and the after show. I always grab the names.
So I'm going to grab all of that and then some. All right, guys, we're going to close it out for a shortened regular show. As I said, stick around for the after show. We'll entertain any other silliness that you guys have. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's 483's regular show. We'll see you in a few minutes when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 483's After Show.
What do we got going on, Ter?
Not a heck of a lot. It is, I know we often say in the off season, well, things slow down. They do. There's a lot less golf to talk about. There's just simply not the, dare I say, the drama, the chaos, the mayhem of the ins and outs. There's some players that are posting about their workouts. Gavin Babcock comes to mind. I saw just today him posting about some of the things he's working on. Him and Seth Muncy I think somehow had a post together talking about some details there. Players going out trying out new discs. A week or two ago, we saw Valerie Mondahano. I saw her post about a new disc and something she's doing. We see some off-season things. I know we said just a week ago that Nico LaCastro had got into some, not karate, some form of martial arts that he was now finally trying out after a number of years. He was on the fence about it and now is into it. So yeah, there's a lot of people living their life. A lot of people out there playing occasionally. We'll say a casual round. I think I see a lot of those posts still of people grabbing their bags and going out. And then there's other players who I feel like just go completely silent, and I can appreciate that too. Whether it's for your brand or for your own peace of mind or anything in between, a full-blown reset or hibernation of sorts sounds good. I mean, someone, for instance, who I see posting all the time, and you can't tell if it's on season or off season, is Madison Walker. Her content remains the same.
Oh, it's the exact same. It's
a lot of nature posts and walks and hammocks and beautiful scenery and plants and flowers that only she knows the names of. So a little bit of everything, and I absolutely love seeing it from all of them. And like I said, if you've gone relatively silent because you run your own social and that's exactly what you need, I've got no problem with it. It makes perfect sense. Stacey Ronsley made a post, I think, about something about her workouts. I saw that today. So a lot of players, going, of course, that method and building and strengthening and everything else. So looking forward to it.
I was looking for an article here and I can't find it now. It was from a few days ago. More or less talking about pickleball and the fact that they're going to be taking, the PPA, I believe, the Professional Pickleball Association, is lowering their winnings for their tour.
Okay.
That there's a couple issues with pickleball in general, but one of them is that there's going to be like less tour stops next year, and so they have to take a pay cut for their winnings.
The players,
professional players do. Yeah, it was
interesting.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, has the pickleball craze started to fade off and slow down, like disc golf? When we were talking about it earlier, and I do a search for pickleball news, and you get a ton of news that comes up about how there's some tennis players are joining, and they're trying to do their own dedicated network and other things. But it's just interesting to see how the other sport that really took off during the pandemic is also kind of scaling back in some aspects. And I've been seeing nothing but people trying to create paddles that don't make noise. Because that's apparently one of the big turnoffs is the noise,
the constant clacking, so to speak.
And I could understand how that would be.
I'll say that specifically
annoying.
From, and again, this is so minor, first world problems, right? But when I was filming the Halloween Classic in Las Vegas, and there's pickleball courts right there, and we heard announcements and such during mid-throw and everything else. That's fine. They had a tournament or something going on. But just being near that court, and when there are a few dozen matches going on, and it's just a constant clack, 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 like, I could understand if you're not into it, or even if you are, I could see that noise eventually driving you crazy. It's so much more I don't know what the word is, distinct, not just distinct, because clearly someone could say, hey, I'm just trying to enjoy my bird watching or my free throw practicing over at the basketball hoop, and I hate hearing that stupid chain sound. I could understand that as well.
Yeah.
Clearly we love the sound. I could understand, but it's not nearly as constant. Even if you have a full course of 4 players on every hole, on all 18 holes, and they're playing, you're still only hearing the chains every few minutes. When you're near a pickleball court, you know it, because it is a constant clacking. I think clack is maybe the best word. So I could understand somebody having that complaint.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are all these companies that are trying to come up with silent paddles. So like, and I'm not a engineer. I don't know how you would do that, and still maintain the same velocity or
sure, and all the
kickback or whatever without
the bounce offs
and the weight and everything. I don't know, but I just found it interesting that pickleball is running into issues as well. Not that they're not still growing.
Yeah, you got to wonder, and this is nothing more than maybe a silly timestamp of sorts, but or not. But when will they peak? And are we still in the early stages of this blowing up to then eventually becoming, one of the premier sports?
No.
I don't think it will. And that's not because I'm like so pro disc golf. I just, in general, it doesn't seem like it will.
I don't feel like it. It's never going to pass the big 4.
Yeah.
It's never, or even 5. I mean, baseball, football, soccer, hockey, and basketball. Like you got 5 ones, and then soccer is in the U.S. is more recent. I would say the last 10 to 15 years. It's never hitting those,
and you don't see it even surpassing than tennis, presumably.
Probably not.
Golf,
tennis and golf, definitely not.
And then it's going to be metrics could be a little different in terms of how big or successful we're calling these things.
I would say right now, cornhole is bigger than pickleball. As you see more, you can more easily play cornhole casually than you can pickleball.
For sure.
And cornhole is much easier. I don't know how much easier it is to film. It's a little smaller court, stationary.
It's still easier
because it's usually indoor and whatnot. So
and just a shorter
and
distance.
We've seen it on ESPN cornhole, that is, and pickleball is starting to hit those things. But I still think cornhole is probably bigger than pickleball, but I mean, you could see it probably approaching, if not surpassing, something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Speaking of courses and layouts and lands, I was down in southeastern Wisconsin again today, looking at this piece of property that I have now visited a number of times that I'm working on for design. And this maybe goes hand in hand with the idea of growth and professionalism and everything else. I was out at the piece of property with Tom McManus, and there's a couple of data points where the baskets, we had previously indicated where the baskets were going to go on a couple of holes, along with obviously some of the tees. A land survey company called me up and said, "Hey, we've marked everything off where you had these data points and everything else for the GPS. However, two of these points look like they might be in what's designated environmental." It's not quite wetland, but it's another fancy term for it in their case. And we don't think you're going to be able to put T-pads there. I explained how a T-pad is constructed, what goes into making a permanent concrete T-pad. And they said, yeah, we don't think that's going to pass through this agency based on your building up earth, you're filling in, da-da-da-da. So we're going to probably have to move these tees. You're not going to be able to have the tee here for hole number 2 and hole number 4 specifically. And I said, okay, but hole 3, the basket's right in between those in that same area. And they said, well, with what we think is going to happen in mounting a basket and everything else, foot traffic can be there, just like it can be, where you want to tee from. But the mounting of a basket is going to be looked upon differently than putting in a tee pad. You're still technically digging a hole and putting a little concrete in it. I get it. Whatever. So these were some of the conversations that had to take place. And we're talking about a few feet. I mean, I'm looking at this map that's been plotted out by these professional surveyors, and they have this little blue dotted line saying basically, hey, you can't put a T-pad within this blue dotted line. And we're talking about, okay, but I can move it over 20 feet that way? Yep, that'll work. So those were kind of the things we were contemplating and looking at today. It was a really interesting conversation. And meanwhile, one of the surveyors was actually out there pounding stakes into the ground, marking off these fairways that we had designed. And he doesn't know disc golf that well. He's never marked off a disc golf course specifically before as a surveyor, and he's been doing this for 30 years. And we were talking about it. I said this project is different. I said often with disc golf projects, depending on the scale and the size and the city and the unions and the I said, oftentimes it's me and this other guy with like a chainsaw, and we're just doing all of this on our own. And here they're doing a surveyor to then bid it out for who will come out and clear it. And so there's all these different steps. Wow. And I just think this clearly has become some of the natural progression.
You're going pro on us, Tara.
No. It's just the village, this particular village that I'm working with. That's how they're operating. That's the business and the finances that they're within to do. Because if you haven't been around that long, rewind 20 or 30 years ago, most of the courses that you see are played
self-funded.
And there was probably 2 or 4 people that went out, and maybe on a work day they got 10, but it was probably 2 or 3 designers that went out, marked some trees, cut them down themselves, and or had a work day, and maybe 20 club members showed up, and that's how most courses went in. Now we're just seeing that there's that many more opportunities, and these efforts can be so much more expansive. It was just a real moment for me today, and I've done about 30 courses, and they've all ranged from a treeless 10-acre property that has nothing more than 200-foot holes on it, all the way to some not quite championship, but near championship level courses and everything in between. This one, though, is getting the most professional attention just because of the way the village is funded. And it was an aha moment for me today to say to this guy, hey, I'm not even used to talking to someone like you. Your services usually are way beyond the scope of what we can afford within disc golf. So it was kind of a cool moment to share out there. Again, big Smashy and supporter Tom McManus was out there as part of this. This course is going to be a par 56-ish course. It's not going to be the next world caliber, world championship caliber course. I think it'll be a fun course in the area that's brand new to this community, and it'll be 18 holes, and when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be great. But so I don't want to oversell it either. I'm not designing the next top destination for UDisc in Wisconsin, but it'll be fun to play. So that's the update. Some of you are local listeners and keep asking what's going on with that course. There's your update as of a few hours ago, earlier today.
So tell me a little bit about your new minis over there.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on with those?
I don't know how new they are to the rest of the world. They're certainly new to me, but I believe these are a newer product. I'm not paid to say this, but I believe these are a newer product.
They kind of look like those can toppers.
Yeah, they kind of do that. We saw a few years ago.
Very thin.
But these are by Zing Mini, and they're deemed, as they're written on the back.
About the width of a quarter.
Yeah, and it's called a flapjack. And they're minis. They're a mini solution that you could use, and it's just, they're so darn thin. This one's got a little give to it. Obviously, they're quite pliable. I don't know how they fly. I have no idea. I just opened the box today. You'll see it on my Instagram. I just opened the box, but they're really flat, and I'm thinking that some people, everyone's a little particular. Some people put a mini in their pocket, and they're like, oh, I hate how it feels, or I keep it in my bag because I don't like how it feels in my pocket. This is a even thinner solution.
Well, which is good in general. I have seen people who wear the same pants wear out their pockets from minis. But I could also see this being a little bit easier lost in a pocket as well. I bet these things are really stable.
We're going to use, just for one comparison, because it's right in front of me, one of our incredible full color mini sponsors coming to us. Let me put that up, because
that's a Dymax Mini.
That's a Dymax Mini. I think these are mini. This is a Mini Judge. And then these. So yeah, size wise,
a little bit smaller,
a tad smaller.
Now again, those are the Mini Judges. The Dymax
happens to be a Mini Dymax Judge, one of our Smashies. And so size wise, just a tiny bit smaller than that. And then just let me do that a little bit flatter. Now this one's bent a little, but yeah, a little bit flatter. So anyway, again, I don't get paid to talk about these, but Zing Mini has hooked me up.
Yeah, this one's a Samui disc golf course, and yours is the disc golf guy logo.
Yeah, so maybe we'll get some Smashbox ones eventually made up as well when we're sending some of these out. Here's what I will say that I do love, and this is really specifically regarding the Samui ones. When I do go back over to Thailand and I want to bring a bunch of minis,
they take up way less space.
They're going to take up a lot less space. They might weigh about the same, roughly, but they definitely take up less space. So I think bang for your buck in that sense. They're going to be great.
Okay. So I just saw them sitting over there, and I was going to ask.
I wanted to, good call, because they literally just got opened up today, and that's what I'm working up. So they're called the Flapjacks. I'm going to have a few for sale, a few for some special giveaways. I feel like tonight's giveaway is going to have to include one. That only makes the most sense.
You say so, Terry.
Yeah. So that's what's going on there. We'll get this other Dymax, one of our
I know I have to. I've got the
sponsor up on the board.
I've got the little spot right there. I need to bring down my my nail gun, actually, because I put the
nail right through it.
No, I put the nail through the Velcro into the wall with a little bit of wood behind it, so that it pops out, so I can stick it to the wall. So if I ever need to move them or rearrange them, I can easily do that. So I literally haven't done that. So I should probably make a point of it, because every time, it's funny because this area that we're in, I really only come down here on Tuesdays, unless I have something, because this is also where I sometimes work remotely, but I haven't worked remotely at all lately. So every Tuesday I come down here, I go, I got to put that up, and by the time it's like 9 o'clock, I'm not going to be this giant nail gun in my house. That's something, my kid sleeps right across the hall. All
right, I'm going to read off the board where we see what Doctor of Disc Golf says. I've heard of many local courses in my area, the Pacific Northwest, either get modified or turned down because most of the land is on Native American grounds. Archaeologists usually have to get involved beforehand. Completely practical and understandable. I feel like it's crazy to think about all of the different entities that can and should get involved when it comes to various areas, whether protected preserves for any given reason, nature, wetlands, obviously. They don't want anybody typically filling in any kind of wetlands, any other kind of I was going to say any protected grounds for any given reason. And then you turn around and on the flip side, and I've seen and worked with a course that's essentially was built on top of an old dump site as well. Water, easements, property lines, all of those types of things that can come into play. And then at the end of the day, never forget, no matter where you are, make sure you get Digger's Hotline out there, who always get involved whenever it comes to putting in any baskets or T-signs or anything of that nature. Wherever you are, make sure you get Digger's Hotline out there so you're not cutting in anyone's cables or anything of that nature. Tim says, course trying to go into a local park and a historic society guy is protesting it. Sounds like they worked around him. Another good example for whatever means things that can come in. One of the very first things that was noted when I went to this property is they had a butterfly, I don't think sanctuary is the word, but they had a butterfly something or other, designated butterfly area on this property. And it ended up being nowhere near where we were really going to take the course anyway, so it wasn't. But those are the types of things that you have to learn when you're going to some of the initial project meetings of, hey, where are the boundaries of the park? Where can we absolutely not go? Where would you like us to avoid? And what can be in play? So to know that right off the bat is obviously great. And that was one thing that they had told us.
Riddle One asks a good question. Is there anything other than cement that you can build T-pads from so they're easy to remove? And it really honestly depends on where you are in the country. Because you can always put down the old, as we say, the cow mats, the rubber mats. Mm-hmm. We used to have those on our Dretska winter course, although I do believe they have T-pads now. Some of them do. Or are they still the winter
I think
mats?
They're all still mats.
Which is great most of the time until you get a little bit of rain and a freeze, which then they slide around. So that can be a problem. They're thicker rubber mats. Those are really the movable ones you have. I mean, you can put out turf T-pads, which in theory can be moved, but it's a lot more difficult, and to get turf T-pads right requires maintenance on them, because you've got to make sure they stay leveled, and there's like a sand in them, I believe, that you need to make sure that it stays. But as far as I think MVP has like a rollable AstroTurf kind of material that you could put out there. You could probably pin that down into the ground. So it's a little easier moved. But again, if you're talking about a permanent course that's going to get a lot of traction, those are probably going to get torn up a little bit.
Yeah, and what I'll add to that is, for instance, the ones in that we have on the island of Samui are essentially framed up and then turf on top of them. And so it's almost is like a platform type scenario. And I look at that, and then I also think about what we've seen on the Pro Tour. Again, not a plug for them. I'm not paid by them, but Disc Concepts is kind of the official solution of the Pro Tour in these last few years for when we've had a quote-unquote temporary T-pad at an event. And I think out in Portland is a good example, and a few of the other places where they talk about the different things that they have in terms of the turf that goes on top of it. And then really, it's not only the turf that's on top that is the throwing surface, it's obviously all of the significant work that goes in underneath it.
Yeah.
Like we all know, you can have the greatest surface in the world, but if something's not flush, or if it doesn't drain well, or if it's at an incline, or if the pitch is goofy, or there's divots in it, all of those things can negate just about any solution you have if they're not properly prepped. And I feel like there's some companies and some clubs and organizations that have just taken that much more care and perspective when it comes to making sure that the tees are done well. You know, you when we talk originally about some cow mats, they were truly just mats that were installed in barns many, many years ago in Wisconsin at a particular course. The playing surface generally was considered good. Mm-hmm. The problem was, erosion and everything else happened underneath them because they were basically just originally put on leveled out dirt. And then as people continued to play and erosion happened, the dirt and everything else from underneath it kind of wore away. And then the surface itself was good. The divots while you walked onto the surface was terrible. So I think that kind of answers your question, but the main point is the prep work has to come from what's underneath in terms of no matter how movable they are, it always has to have good prep work first and foremost. So those are some things that I would consider.
And Tim brings up T1 at Jonesboro in the Macbeth versus Calvin playoff, where we saw Macbeth hit the turf that kind of got up and
bunched up
underneath of him, and for Calvin that didn't necessarily happen. So
someone, Lindsay asked out on the board, got any more of the Disc Golf Rich shirts? Yes. I think I paid you for that plug. I didn't. But I do have some. I will be bringing some out to Arizona this upcoming weekend. And I have some both in green and in blue. So both colors and in both sizes. I should get some of those posted on the Facebooks and on the Instagrams as well. But yes, there are still some available.
Let's get into the land of controversy.
No.
A little bit. Ricky's Bitcoin bonus is back up over 250,000. So he was paid.
Sell.
Ricky was paid 250,000 in Bitcoin, as we all know, a little over a year. 2 years ago, almost now, year and a half ago. And it dipped down to like 230,000 or something at one point. But it is back up to about $260,000.
Okay.
Now, again, this isn't a plug for Bitcoin. This isn't a plug for anything because, again, invest in what you feel you want to invest in. You do the research.
This is not financial advice.
Correct.
We have to say that on the show.
I think we have to.
Yep.
Just letting everyone know, because Ricky ate a lot of garbage online after he did that, and it dipped way down into like downwards of almost 50% of what it was worth. Well, it has rebounded. I don't know what it's going to do from here. If I did, I'd be a billionaire. Mm-hmm. But in general, I want everyone to know, Ricky is back in the black. Now, you can argue that there's taxes and what would he have made if he had invested in something else and woulda, shoulda, coulda, blah, 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 blah. I don't know any of that stuff. Don't really care. But he is currently about $10,000 up as bonus.
All right.
So, whatever.
Well, with inflation.
I know, with inflation.
Thanks, Obama.
And Carter. I think it was Carter's fault.
I have a genuine question. I almost posted this to Facebook, but I know everyone's going to just get all pissy about it.
Do it. This is the place to do it, Sarah.
So I'll just ask. I feel as if, and this is genuinely not politically driven, as much as it's a legitimate question. Who should I be thanking or blaming for the seemingly very low gas prices that are next to my house right now? Because they've been dropping steadily. I want to say it's like 262 by me. Like the gas station by my house seems to be one of the lowest, like anywhere within like a 20-mile radius. I'm just blessed by that.
There was one place. I know
there's trackers and everything, but for whatever reason, my quick trip.
On Oklahoma, when I would go home from work, there was one gas station that was always like 20 cents less than every other one. It had like I think like a Panther logo, like not like Udemy Panther, but I remember thinking like I've never seen this gas station before.
This brand,
yeah.
Are they selling us real gas?
That's what I was curious. I'm like, is this watered down? I don't know. Why are you always significantly like 20 cents cheaper than anywhere else? But I would stop there. But,
anyway, so who do I get to thank or blame?
Both are me.
Okay,
me personally.
Well,
no, I mean gas prices. There's a lot of people that when they go up, you blame the other side, the president, whomever. We all know he doesn't control the gas prices. Now you can there's discussions about whether or not he can artificially push them down by pulling out from the reserves. But ultimately, there's a giant oil conglomerate, OPEC, that more or less controls the prices, and we can do a little bit here and there, but they're going to do what they're going to do, honestly. I personally don't blame the president when they go up or down because he doesn't do so very little control over it. Like, it's just so little control over that from our
I don't
president.
know. I got to blame somebody or thank somebody.
Well,
I'm not sure who that is.
You can send me the thank you card.
Okay.
But the blame card, I want you to send to Tim Courts.
Oh, yeah, he's a regular.
I know, that's why.
Yeah, it's just it is obviously most people consider it politically driven. I get all that, and everybody wants to blame everybody else. I'm not at all claiming who to blame or who not to, but I know that currently the gas prices near my house feel incredibly low, and I haven't even looked at any charts. This is nothing more than a feel thing. It feels like they're incredibly low right now. So I there's somebody to blame. I just don't know who or to thank. All right. I don't know if there's a heck of a lot else that has been going on. We did have. Would you say that it was up? Yeah, upset's the word for the Packers.
Oh, sure. Kind of.
Beating. Kind of. I'm trusting you on this.
Okay,
I'm just saying. I feel like it was a significant upset.
I don't feel
that the Packers beat the Chiefs this weekend.
I don't feel like it was a significant upset. So,
okay.
and I'll say this. I think it was an upset. I mean, Vegas thought it was an upset, so you trust what they say. But the Chiefs have been playing very poorly the last 4 or 5 weeks. Mahomes has, specifically because I have him on my fantasy team, and I've lost 4 in a row because of him.
Ouch. Yeah.
Because you can't sit him.
Thanks, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, sure.
Let's blame her.
Like you can't sit. He was like the number 1 quarterback last year. You can't sit him, but he's played poorly, and I've lost. I've literally backed into the playoffs in my fantasy team, my fantasy league. And so they have been playing very poorly lately, and the Packers have been playing pretty well lately. So ultimately, I feel like it was an upset, but it wasn't a huge upset. Okay. What I really like is I know they were, and I think it was even maybe Ray and Tim in our Discord asked me a couple months ago. It was like, do you feel like Jordan Love is the man? Do you think he's going to be the guy?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know. I want to give him like 8 to 10 weeks to see what he becomes, because it's a young team. Literally, we have the youngest team in the NFL, and it's really hard to judge a player on like their first 4 or 5 weeks. Some quarterbacks come out and just are awesome right away. Some aren't. What I think I've gathered is he has earned himself at least 2 more years of like, hey, this is a guy I want to give a chance to. Do I think he's going to be the next Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre? I don't think so. That would just be so difficult to pull off, to have the 3 quarterback scenario for the last 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And so that would be, or it would be 40 by the time he was done, I guess. That would be difficult. I'm very happy with what I've seen. I think he's getting better. And as his team gets better, or as his wide receivers and such get better, he will then as well get better. Upset, mild upset, I will say.
Okay. Well, nonetheless, somehow the Packers and now are very. I saw somebody else post today. If the Packers just win their next 10 games, they're Super Bowl champs. So,
that's true. They just have to win the next 10.
Just win the next 10. Nonetheless, that I know was part of the overall weekend's activities here, excitement,
and I love it. I mean, I'm a big Packer fan. I love that the Packers are winning. It's fun to watch a good team. It's less interesting to watch a bad team. Early in the season, I had a little less interest in the Packers. Obviously, I kept up with them, but I didn't make it a point to like, I'm going to sit and watch a game. The Chiefs game, granted, it was a night game, so I didn't really have anything else going on. I sat and watched the whole thing, and it's fun to cheer for these guys because they seem like they're a good team to cheer for. I have seen a few Twitter posts and maybe memes coming from some of the other Midwestern cities that have NFL teams that are like, really, can't the Packers just be bad 1 or 2 years? And to that I say, I hope not, but you also didn't have to live through the 80s.
I was just going to say, go back to when you and I were kids.
70s and 80s
they were terrible.
Terrible.
From everything
terrible. Like after Lombardi left, which I think he left in like the late 60s, all through the 70s, all through the 80s, into like the very early 90s when finally Brett Favre showed up. I mean, we had a little bit of here and there with Don Mikowski, but he wasn't great. it was miserable to be a Packer fan,
Yeah.
and yet we still sold out our stadium and whatnot. So we have had now 25 years, 30 years, 30 years of good quarterback play.
Yeah. Some of it more exciting than others,
Oh,
but yeah.
yes.
Some of it a little more heartbreaking, but overall good quarterback.
So
play,
I would love it if we could get another 10 years out of Jordan Love and just be happy with that. But I don't know. But we did. We went through our time where we were miserable for 20 plus years.
Yeah. All right. I know that went down. So take that, Swifty. Update, thinking of T-Swift, thinking of my then two daughters, specifically the one that hasn't crashed any cars yet. So big shout out. We'll keep that timestamp going.
All right.
As well. We are now officially...
Has she been driving a decent amount?
No, just here and there. Tonight, for instance, we had to drop off some boxes, my disc in a box and some bags over at UPS and all that stuff. She hasn't been driving a ton, but when I'm around and I can give her the opportunity, she's been getting out more and more. Still very, very tentative, still a little slow on stuff, which I'm
good.
She's overly cautious.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I'm still good with that, and still has not, knock on wood, has not crashed or really even come close.
How soon after you got your license was your first accident? Major or minor?
It wasn't that long after, because I was a little heavy-footed on heading to Subway to work. It was right near my house, and it was
What was the car?
It was my Ford Tempo.
All right.
And
I don't think I knew you when you had a Tempo.
It was snowy out, and I just was basically too aggressive in an early snowfall, not early season, but early. It was early on in the snowfall, and the road was just flat out slick, like super slick, and I did not respect all of that. And and my trip over to Subway from where I lived wasn't even that far, but I put my car just barely off the road. It was on a city street, off the road into a tree. And obviously, thankfully, I was all right. Everything was good. The car continued to drive and was largely, for the most part, okay. But yeah, it was definitely...
Within the first year?
No, yeah, I would assume that was in the first year.
Probably because you would have got your license sometime in August.
No, it couldn't have been. No, it...
and then maybe that first winter?
I wonder if it was right away in that first December? That's a good question. I feel like it probably was.
December.
Yeah, it probably was. If I got my license in August, I would assume it was then that first December is when that would have happened. I would think. So, my daughter will get her license in October of next year. And she's yet to drive in any snow. We haven't had too many opportunities. That we're going to definitely take nice and slow.
At 16 races at 16, I'd gotten enough points to lose my license until I turned 18. Oh, yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. Starting out in the hole like that.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half. I got into a major accident. But I was on my way up north to our land, and I was 16. And I was coming out of a gas station, and there were cars parked. I needed to cross a lane of traffic and take a left turn, and there's cars parked all the way to the left, so I couldn't really see oncoming traffic. So I kind of slowly wedged out, waited. I couldn't see a car, and so I thought, all right, well, now's my time to go. But I couldn't see a car because, honestly, I couldn't see what was coming. And the worst part was I was in the car behind me with my parents.
Because they got to see you.
Yeah, and so I pulled out a car had come out of quote unquote nowhere.
Or right there.
Or it was right there.
Whole time.
Slammed on its brakes. I slammed on my brakes, and we literally bumped. It was barely a touch. And I got out, and my dad just reamed me out. Like, what? You couldn't see? What are you doing? And I'm like, there's no damage. He's like, oh, that's not the point. You couldn't see. And I was like, no, I couldn't, And so thankfully there was no real damage to the car, but that was like my first accident. And then my first major accident was the next year when I was on Northland Ave, and I made a left turn when a green light showed up, and it wasn't a green arrow. And so coming towards me,
you just pulled right in front of
someone. I
someone.
literally took a left turn right in front of someone. And just they slammed on their brakes, slid. I ended up taking out the entire front quarter panel on a brand new 1996 forest green Topaz. I'll never forget it. And her car had less than 100 miles on it.
Oh, wow.
I'm talking brand new.
Yeah, like she got it at the lot on the other end of Northland Ave.
Yeah.
She just picked it up earlier that day.
She had less than 100 miles on her car. And this was late one night. I was with a buddy of mine. We were coming back from swim practice. And we were talking in the car, and I saw the light, and I just made a left turn. I didn't even think about it. And it just, in my head, I registered as a green arrow. Totaled her car. Took out the front corner panel, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was not, I mean, I'm sorry. I didn't total her car. I totaled my car. Her car had just a ton of damage on it. But everyone was okay. Nobody was hurt because it was mostly just cosmetic, so to speak. But my car never really drove the same after that. It was my Dodge Colt, which shout out to my Colt because I loved it. And so we ended up getting rid of that. I remember having to call my parents, and the first thing you have to say,
I'm okay.
Everybody's okay.
Everybody's okay.
Everybody's okay, Mom.
Yeah.
But I hit another car.
Yeah.
And that's when I love my mom when she just said, don't say anything. Don't tell the cops anything. And literally by then, the cop was standing next to me when I was calling, and I had already said, it was all my fault. It was all my fault.
You idiot.
And she's just like, you just don't say anything. And I'm like, sorry, it was all my fault.
Yeah. Well, you're just so honest.
Oh, no, I was so stupid.
Truthful.
I was so stupid because
so naive.
Because I've told my son, I said, if you ever get stopped by the cops or the cops ever bring you into a room, I said, the only word you say is lawyer.
Yeah.
So that's the only word you ever say, period. It's the only, you want to call your parents or you want to call a lawyer. I said, I don't care if they're asking about you, one of your friends, or anybody you know. It's the only words you say to a police officer. But I've never been interrogated, unlike you. So
that's another story for another day.
Another night we'll tell that story.
Any time, anywhere really. So no, that has been the one thing that I told my daughter just tonight. We pulled up to an intersection she couldn't quite see, and I said, "You never sacrifice you being able to see. If you need me to move or your passenger to move, like you always tell them move or get out of your way so that you can clearly see." Because I could tell my big old head was right in her way as she was trying to look for, oncoming, and she needs to pull up a little bit. She needs to stop and then kind of creep up to get a better view. I'll say
like
this.
TLC creep?
She's overly cautious on stopping like right where you're supposed to.
At the line.
But then half the time you can't see anything because like you said, there's parked cars or there's whatever. So as she pulls up, I need her to creep up a little bit more and then get a full look. I said, you always make sure you tell somebody to move their head or get out of your way so that you can see where you're going. So fingers crossed, every single week we have a clear and free update coming in. So best of luck to all of us on that. All right, let's do some giveaway action.
Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV if you want to be eligible for our giveaway. Every week we give away something. Tonight we're going to give away probably a disc and one of those little flapjack minis.
Flapjacks coming at you.
So I'm going to go through the whole thing. If you would like to be eligible, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Terry, we have 134 people eligible for our giveaway tonight. Let's get going. Let's do this.
It's flapjack time. I like 3 of them.
3 flapjacks? That's a good number of flapjacks.
It seems like it would be.
Pretty solid. All right, we'll generate 3 then for 3 flapjacks. Our first number is 29. Our second number is 34. And I sorted them by first name. Our final number is 31.
Oh, wow. 29, 34, 31. Somebody
only if she's 5'3". Bump, bump. No, that's different.
I don't think those are.
I don't know. It just made sense to me when I said it.
Yep.
So 31. Let me look at who's 31.
Come on, Sir Mix-a-Lot. What do you got?
Craig Sink.
Craig
Sink. Congratulations, Craig
Sweet.
Sink. Like I said, it was sorted by first name, so Craig is in the 30s there. Craig
so
Sink.
Close.
Yeah, we had a couple
Everybody
people.
else in that area, but Craig Sink.
Yeah.
Thank you, Craig. I'm just saying with the 31, 34, 20, like,
oh yeah, as far
the
as
number
numbers.
1 to be in that area.
It truly did. So Craig, congratulations. We will get you this. Terry will get you the information. You are a $1 Patreon supporter, so we do not have your address. So send your email to Terry. Terry will get that from you, and we'll get that shipped out to you. So thank you very much for being a Patreon supporter, Craig.
We very much appreciate it. I was reading off the board, Tim, talking more about his poor driving escapades. Tim, stay safe. Massive J says, Katrina been hitting up the Vikings games. Yes, we saw some posts throughout the season, her and Austin heading to some of those throughout. Tim says, the saddest wreck I was in was a girl was driving her dad's restored 1967 Mustang, and she rear-ended me in a crappy 77 Malibu Classic. Yeah, that's...
Someday we'll tell the story about you and I driving back from Milwaukee with some friends of ours in the middle of a snowstorm.
The important thing is we're here and we're safe.
That's the important part.
And that's what matters the most.
It's the only time I ever really thought my life flashed before my eyes.
Just a little ride in the car with old Terror Bear. All right, guys.
You weren't driving. I wasn't worried.
We're gonna call it a night here. It is relatively short and easy, and we're okay with that. We'll give you guys a little break of sorts. Next week, hopefully, maybe we'll have a Big Arm Challenge winner join us or something like that. That might be a possibility. Or maybe there'll be some other off-season news that we need to check in with, and we may attack that. I guess anything's possible. What will next week be? The 12th. All right. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's podcast 483's after show. Be safe. Don't stress out too much over your holidays. We all know it's a stressful and crazy time for a lot of people. Deep breaths. Remember, your safety and your well-being is far more important than any particular material items. And so just keep that in mind and love one another. We look forward to seeing you guys all next week when you step inside the Smash Box.